Hello guys, this is Luis. It's time for us to create our virtual machine. Now, to be able to create our virtual machine, we need to have the ISO file of the server 2012. So if you have the ISO file of the server 2012, then you go straight forward and click on Action, New, and then Virtual Machine. This brings up the new virtual machine wizard, and then it gives you some introduction. So you click Next to specify the name of the virtual machine. We are going to call this one DC1. Then the location for the virtual machine has been grayed out because by default in the Hyper-V manager, virtual machine has been stored in a default location. So we click Next, and then we have the option to select the first generation or the second generation. Now if you are going to be installing any operating system that is lesser than Windows 8 and that is 32-bit from Windows 7 or Server 2008, then you will have to use the first generation of Hyper-V. But then if you are going to be installing Windows 8 or Server 2012 or any operating system that came after Server 2012, and if you want to be able to do Pixie boot or network boot, then you have to use the second generation. So from here we can click Next. Then our RAM is 1024 megabytes, which is 1 gig. That is okay for the task at hand, so we can click Next. And then we have dynamic memory also checked. Dynamic memory simply means that if your virtual machine is running out of memory, it can expand its memory. So from here we can click Next. Then remember in the previous video we created a network, so all we have to do is we have to configure networking. So you just drop down and then you select the network that we created, which is private. Then you click Next. Then we have to create a virtual hard disk. A name has been specified using the name of the virtual machine that we selected, and so we are going to leave all these untouched, but we are going to change the size of the disk. We're going to make it 30 gig. Don't worry, this is not going to take 30 gig of your hard disk, but rather it's just going to create a disk, and then you can put resources on the disk until it expands up to 30 gig. So we can click Next. Then we have three options. We can choose to install an operating system later, or we can specify the image file right now, or we can install an operating system from a network-based installation. So if you have a file that is shared on a network WDS server, then you can do that. So in our case, we are going to use the install an operating system from a bootable disk image file. Then you click Browse, and then you browse to the location on your computer where you have the ISO file of the server 2012. So here is my ISO file. I click Open, and then I click Next, and then Finish. So it is going to configure my disk and then create my virtual machine. So my DC1, as you can see here, has been created, and immediately when it is created, when you look in the right pane and the actions, an actions tab has also been created for the virtual machine we created. First and foremost, we have Connect. Let's click on Connect and see what happens. So it brings us a monitor or a screen for our virtual machine, and this is actually what connects directly to the virtual hard disk that has been created. Then there are some tabs here. We have Start, which is used to power on the virtual machine. Then we have Turn Off, which is used to turn off the virtual machine, like in the physical machine when you press on the power button directly. Then you have Shut Down, which is the normal process of shutting down the machine where all settings and configurations are saved, and then the system is then shut down. Then we have Save, which is used to save the current state of the virtual machine. So we have Start, which is used to we have Save, which is used to save the current state of the virtual machine, and then it shuts down the virtual machine. Then you can pause the virtual machine, and then we have Reset, which is used to restart the virtual machine, and then we have Checkpoint. Now Checkpoint is very important. Checkpoint allows you to create snapshots of the various system states, so that in the event where your virtual machine crashes, you can restore using any of the checkpoints that you have created. Then we have Revert, which is used to undo a change. We'll talk about this tab here later. So We also have file, which is used to, you can check the settings of the virtual machine, and then you can also exit. Action, most of the tabs are grayed out and we've gone through them. We have media, so if you want to change the ISO file, you can do that from the media. We have view, where you can change to full screen or you can enable enhanced session. Then you have help, in case you need any help with your virtual machine.